I'm Alviciano, and this is A1Minute. Happy Black History Month for the fourth week, part 2. We will continue the timeline as this is the last installment of the Black History Month portion. So 1831, Nat Turner led the one and only sustained slave revolt in America over a period of 2 months. He was eventually captured and lynched, however. Leading up to the Civil War, 1850s, we have Harriet Tubman and William Steele freed hundreds of slaves. If you haven't seen the Harriet Tubman movie, I encourage you to check that out. She was more badass than any gangster or mafia member I know. The period after the Civil War, 1865, we have the passing of the 13th Amendment, which outlawed slavery in America except for a punishable act of crime. You would imagine with this backdoor, black laws, aka black codes, were implemented to make any and everything a black person did a punishable act of crime. Simply loitering without a worker's permit was a felony for a black person. We fast forward to 1921. We have Black Wall Street, the largest concentration of black wealth, black entrepreneurs, black business owners in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was an accusation of an assault which led to riots breaking out between the black and white locals in that community. And eventually the government stepped in and bombed the entire place. Over $30 million in infrastructure lost to black business owners, and the government called it justifiable. Now, if we fast forward to the Civil Rights Movement, 1950s, 1960s, plenty of events and figures involved in this movement. One of the catalysts was the Emmett Till case. Emmett Till, a 14-year-old boy who was accused again of whistling at a white woman. He eventually was kidnapped, beaten almost to death, burned alive, lynched, and thrown in the river. The people who admitted to doing this, they actually admitted in court, and they still was found not guilty. We have also had people like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and Fred Hampton, prominent civil rights leaders who were assassinated during this time. Now, we can fast forward to the war on drugs and the Rodney King riots in the 90s. Eventually, in 2008, the election of the first black president, and in 2020, finally, the passing of the Emmett Till anti-lynching law, which 4 people in Congress actually voted against still in 2020. I find that kind of surprising. But the point overall is, what are you doing today that you think is moral, that your future self knows is immoral? We look at people who had slavery during that time, and we know for a fact that was immoral. But people during that time actually thought it was morally right. So how can you look at your future self and decide what are you actually doing today that is immoral? There's a quote by John Henry Clark who inspired me to do this Black History Month portion, and it says, history is the clock that people use to tell their cultural and political time of day. So thank you to everyone that has been tuning in and liked the series, liked the content. You can like, comment below, tag below, and we'll continue the conversation. But as always, know your history. You might see a better future.